Hello everybody, hope y'all are doing good out there. So I've decided to do a series of videos in which I talk about basic knife skills. Now these videos will be more or less focused on the idea of knife maintenance, taking care of a pocket knife and making that pocket knife last a really long time. And this is one thing that I've been thinking about doing for a while, and I've decided to finally go about it because I see so many people who just don't seem to understand what a pocket knife is and how to take care of it and so on. And this series is going to be very long. I don't know how long it'll take me to complete it because some of the things in it I'm just going to have to do videos on those particular topics whenever I find a knife that needs it. Some of these will be pretty simple and straightforward, as in things you should do maybe once a month. Other things will be things you'll do on a rare day. You may never have to do it unless you buy a new knife with a problem, inherit a knife with a problem, or do something you shouldn't be doing with your knife in the first place. So we shall cover everything from sharpening, to cleaning, to oiling, to polishing, to buffing, to tightening bolsters, to fixing rough transitions, and blade wobble, blade wrap, proud blades, retipping the shape on a blade. All these things that you may need to do with a pocket knife I plan to cover eventually in this video series. But as I said, it's going to be spaced out as I find knives that need these particular tasks. Now when we think about a traditional pocket knife, something like this Sodbuster Jr. right here, this is something that what some people will call, it's like a grandpa's knife. It's a knife that you may see a grandpa carry, something like that. I know my grandpa, for all the time I knew him, carried a 47 pattern Case Stockman. And it's a traditional knife, most likely, having a slip joint mechanism, maybe a lockback, but nevertheless, usually some kind of natural material, maybe a synthetic material, maybe carbon steel blades, maybe stainless blades, but it's this style of a knife. And, they maintained them and used them. They used them so much that the blades whittled down very often. There's barely any blade left. How often do you see a modern knife that has been able to get that much use out of it? But as with anything, just like a vehicle, it has to be maintained and it has to be repaired occasionally. Pocket knives are the same way. It will get patina, it will get coloration, it'll get use, it'll get scratches, and it will never look brand new again, but that's perfectly fine because we don't want it to look brand new. We just want to bring it back to good condition again. And you'll grow to enjoy the knife and the character as you use it over a span of maybe 10, 20, 30, maybe even 40 or more years. And so that is my plan with this series. And I'm hoping that the information is going to be helpful. Now, on a lot of these things I'm going to show, this is multiple ways to go about a lot of this. I'm just showing you the way I do it. Now, I'm a redneck. I'm not real particular. And I'm not going to be showing anything that is extremely complex or requires a lot of expensive tools or anything like that. This is just basic stuff that if we try, we can do. And so that's my plan for this series. If y'all have recommendations of things to show, comment them down in the comments. I'll take a look at them and I'll put them on my list, and when I get around to them, we might cover that. I thought we would begin with one of the most basic knife skills, and this is one that is so overlooked, and this will be a huge benefit to any of y'all out there who haven't been doing this in the past. And that is cleaning and washing your knife. You don't know how many knives I see and find at pawn shops that have not been cleaned, that have not been washed. They're absolutely filthy. A lot of times, the filthiness is what caused a problem in the knife that caused the person to get rid of it. For example, there was a red peanut that I once cleaned up. I cleaned it up for a man. Nevertheless, this secondary pin blade right here, the tip was proud. It was raised up. Let me see if I can get it. Something like that. See how that's sticking up? Normally when you see that, it's an adjustment of the kick, where that you would take and remove some material from the kick right here. Sometimes it's a matter of the blade having been sharpened down a lot and you need to re-profile the tip. It was neither one of these this time. The knife hadn't been cleaned, and there was dirt right down here. Right down here in the spring, there was some dirt down in there. And that dirt was preventing the blade from resting all the way down in the knife. A cleaning of the knife would have fixed the problem. It can be the exact same story with the action. Sometimes people will open up a knife and say, oh, it's no good, it's gritty. Well, I mean, preferably when it comes from the factory, it's not gritty, which they are sometimes, which would be best if they weren't. But let me tell you, it's no problem the knife's gritty. It's an easy fix. Wash it out. Clean it out. You know, if you keep your knife clean, you're not going to have grit in the pivot. This one was one of the grittiest knives that I ever had. Listen to it now. Smooth. I'll tell you how I fixed it in a minute. You see, sometimes lint will get trapped down in these knives, and that lint will hold moisture, cause the brass to tarnish, cause maybe the springs, if it's got carbon springs, cause them to rust. If it's got a carbon blade, it'll cause the blade to spot up. Why, that's not good. We got to clean our knives. You can get dirt clogged all down in the scales and everything, and nevertheless, suffice all this to say that if we keep our knives clean, they're going to perform better for us. So then, how do I clean a pocket knife? Is it difficult? Is it complex? Is there a lot to it? Why, no, there's really nothing to it at all. It's simple as it can be. I've got a little bowl right here. I got water in it and a little bit of soap. Put the knife down in there. That's all there is to it. Pull it out. Work the pivot in and out a little bit. Now, you can also hold this underwater, which would be a little better for getting the pivot cleaned out really good. But I'm not doing that just because I'm outside right here. But just get some water in there. Work that pivot in and out. That is going to work out any of the pocket lint, any of the dirt, any of the grime. If it's a carbon steel knife, like this one right here, it's going to work out a lot of that patina. You know, that patina can get down in there, cause this to seize up a little bit. I'll tell you, that little bit right there has already cleaned this out a whole lot. But that's a little thing right there. Just wash the knife out. These yellow scales will oftentimes, you'll see them and they'll have like a blackish or grayish hue to them in it itself. And I know some people have said why it's been burnt by the buffer. You know, a buffer has burnt it, or maybe it's got oil in it and you can't get it out. Why, I've found time after time, if you just wash it out, it wipes right off. It's very good for a knife to clean it out like this. Now we're just going to take us a toothpick. A lot of people use the toothpicks on a Swiss Army knife to do this. And just get down in here and just kind of break everything free. Run over the back of the knife there where it meets the back springs. Run it down the liner. See that gunk I'm getting out right there? Just run it right down the liner like that. And just do that and you'll loosen up all the gunk, loosen up all the dirt and all that kind of stuff. When you get that done, close your blade again and go to the back of your blade, take your toothpick. You can also use a Q-tip if you need to, but in most cases a toothpick does a really good job. And just work it down along this pivot just like this. And get all that lint out of there, get all that dirt out of there, get all that loose patina out of there, whatever it is. Just get all that off. A lot of times I like to go right here to the tang if it's a carbon steel knife and just kind of rub on that a little bit there. Kind of get that cleaned off a bit. Now, why do you not see this done very often? Why, it's because people think their knives will rust. And it's true, knives can rust. Especially knives like this one right here that is a carbon steel knife. I brought this peanut out for an example also for two reasons. But the first one is because it's stainless bone. This one's synthetic carbon steel, and I'm just showing that this works great on either. But now since I already have this all scrubbed out now with a toothpick and all the gunk broken loose, we're going to put it back in there, open it, close it a few times, and just allow it to get washed out good. And like I said, to do this under a sink with running raw water would be the best way to do that, and that's how I normally do it. But this is a good way to do it just here on the camera today, just to show how simple it is. I don't know if you can see it in there, but see that stuff floating around in the water? That was all junk inside of the pivot of this knife. And if you use a knife, the pivot is going to get clogged up and it's going to get nasty. I think what I've used this knife for more than anything else has been, I usually use this knife if I know I'm going to be cooking and I might be needing a knife. A lot of times I'll throw this one in my pocket. And the biggest thing I used this for was I had to get together with my grandma and grandpa and made soup, beans, cornbread, and fried potatoes, and I used this knife and cut all that up. But you can see right there, look at the patina on that blade. It's a great knife. Sodbuster Jr. is a classic. If you don't have a yellow carbon steel Sodbuster Jr. and you like knives, go get one. You won't regret it. But people don't wash knives like this because they think, why, my knife will rust. And it's true that knives can rust because they're made of metal. But let me tell you, there's one way to prevent a knife from rusting. And that is to remove the thing that makes a knife rust. In other words, let's wipe the water off. It's real simple, of course. Just get you a towel of some sort. You can even use your shirt if you need to, if you're out and about, or a hanky, or whatever you got. And just wipe that knife blade off real good. Flip the knife up. Get that down in there as far as you can. You can put your towel on there and push it in there with your toothpick. Move it back and forth to dry it all out good. It's real simple here, just basic knife maintenance. Just wash it out good, then dry it off good. Now, if I'm doing a knife, especially if it's a carbon steel knife like this, I look down in here really good and make sure I don't have any water standing. See how that's nice and dry? Now, I am outside, which will help it dry a little bit, but you can blow inside of it if you need to and try to blow it out a little bit, but just make sure there's no water, specifically hanging on the blade itself. And this is the first thing to keep in mind when you clean out a knife like this. Just get all the water off. But the action is so much smoother on this knife. There's no discoloration to the yellow Delrin. The brass pins all look good. And this knife just looks a whole lot better now. It's smoother and it's clean. Do this once a month, once every 2 months, once every 3 months, whatever your knife needs, depending on what you're using it for. And it will keep your knife clean, and keeping your knife clean will make sure it performs better. It will also make sure that it's safer to use if you're using it around food. And it's just a good idea. Don't be afraid to wash your knives. Just remember, water makes knives rust. Dry the water off before you put it back in your pocket. So it's pretty simple like that. Our other knife would be this Case Peanut right here. Now, the reason why I chose this Case Peanut, this is a red pocket-worn corncob jig Case Peanut, stainless steel. The reason why I chose this one right here is because, like I said, this knife had a whole lot of grit in it when it was new. And I could not get the action right. I oiled it and oiled it and oiled it. And that seems to be the first thing a lot of us do when we're wanting to clean a knife out, is we oil it. But I've learned oiling it is not the first thing to do. The first thing to do is to wash it out. The oil, although it's slippery, it has a tendency to hang things up and to hold dirt. You know, you can take anything like that. Imagine like a hay baler. You know, you take a hay baler and you grease up all of your chains and everything. When you get done with that hay, it's all clotted to those cogs, them gears, those chains. And that's because that oil and that grease will hold dirt. But at the same time, other parts of the baler where there wasn't any grease, like the paint or the outside of it, or even the inside where all the hay went through, you can just blow that right out with an air compressor. So oil has a tendency to hold grit. And if we're trying to get grit out of a knife, the best way to get it out is not to oil it, but to wash it. This one right here was really gritty, and I oiled it and oiled it and oiled it, and I never got it exactly where I wanted it. And then one day, where I was at church there, that we had a baptism, and I performed the baptism. Well, I had this knife in my pocket when I performed the baptism. Now, of course, it got completely soaked, just like me when I did that. And I dried it off, you know, because again, water makes knives rust. So I dried it off later, and I noticed the action was smooth as it could be. Smooth as it could be, and the knife was cleaned out. And that's when I realized washing a knife out is the best way to clean out a pivot. Now, I don't think this one needs cleaned out right now. If we look down in here, it's got a little, it looks clean to me. I don't think it needs it. So I'm not going to wash this one out right now. But nevertheless, the rule would apply the same for this knife. Bone handles, stainless steel blades. This one would be even better to wash out because I really don't have to worry too much about this steel rusting like I would on this Sodbuster Jr. being a carbon steel. But nevertheless, this stainless steel from Case is very resistant to rust. So this one would be even easier to do this maintenance task with it. So this is how you would wash it out. Now, from this point, it might be a good idea to put some oil on it. But you don't want to use too much oil. Just put just a little dab of oil just right down here in your pivot, and just work it in a little bit. I'm going to do that in another video. I'm not going to put oil in this knife in this video, because this video is just to talk about washing a knife. Now, a lot of times I won't put any oil after I wash a knife. If the pivot is perfectly smooth, like this one is, I ain't worried about putting any oil in it right now. But it's a good idea to keep your knives oiled, and that right there is a video for another day. So, thanks for watching. Y'all comment down below, let me know how y'all go about it. And anybody you know in your family, like if your grandpa had a routine for maintaining and cleaning his pocket knife, let us know what it is in the comments. Y'all have a good day, and keep your knives sharp and clean.